All right, guys. So as Natan mentioned, I currently work at Accenture where I lead a lot of our AI projects out of the Northeast. And I also work on a newsletter, Digestible AI, that really helps to make AI accessible to all audiences, whether you're an engineer, a knowledge worker, or just even an AI enthusiast. And my whole mission around this was to, like, how do we make AI something that isn't guarded by just engineers, right? We want it to be fruitful for everyone as we move into the next few years. So my talk today is going to be about an agent tool that I had worked on to build out some content for my newsletter. And this is, for full transparency, a side project that isn't being actively developed today. But I started with the broad question about, okay, how could I have a team of agents curate content for the newsletter and then write me a first draft? So with that question, I ended up devising a little plan using Crew AI and tools from Exa to go ahead and do exactly that for me. And in the little demo I'm going to show today, we have here a researcher agent, a newsletter agent, and a designer agent. So for example, the researcher agent has access to the web, so it can go and grab all of the tools, all the articles based on parameters that I specify. We have a newsletter editor, which emulates my writing style, or at least attempts to do that. And then we have a designer and compiler, which goes ahead and creates the HTML doc that I need to output that. So really quick, let me go ahead and show off the actual tool. And this is a pretty simple implementation, in my opinion. It was done with Core AI, a very simple fast API app, and a very simple like React front end here. So the front end here that I wanted to use and the vision that I had for this was, okay, if I had some links, some parameters that I could start giving to my agents, how can they take that, make content out of it? But then also, if I don't give it any links, how can they go and reason and find the right links that I want to talk about for my audience? So here, I've given it two links here, a couple of recent things from CNBC and Reuters. So this one is Intel shares rise after Vance promises to safeguard American AI chips. And then this is about how Grok secured 1.5 billion from Saudi Arabia. And I put those links into here. And essentially this is in the back end or in the front end, how this is working. I'm not going to show off the result quite yet because I want to talk through a little bit of the implementation and the methodology behind how we built this. So I want to show off crew.py, api.py, and then the agent configurations that I have. So really quickly in crew, we have basically where you define all of your agents. So in here, I've used the Crew AI framework again, and I have, like I mentioned, three different agents, right? One that's a researcher, one that's an editor, and then one that is a designer. And given these agents, I've given it the appropriate tools from Exa that it needs to go and achieve the tasks that I want it to. So for example, I have a tool called searching contents and then get contents. So searching contents essentially gives you, like, it lets the agent go search the web with the Exa API, and then get contents actually goes and scrapes the information from the articles that I'm talking about. And then with the after we define the agents, we have tasks. So I have a research task, an edit task, and also just the newsletter task. Switching over to just the API implementation of this, what I have here is basically I just call in the newsletter generation crew that I've defined elsewhere, and I'm passing it the links, and then I'm running it through the API. And then so once you go ahead and you put in your links into the front end, this is how the result is returned. And then very quickly, the agent configurations. Here, I have the researcher, the editor, and the designer, and they're all given roles, a goal, and a backstory. That's how Crew AI works. You're given these three parameters, and that's how it's able to kind of reason what it wants to start doing. And then finally, some tasks that I've defined here. The research task with a pretty thorough description of how I want it to act. Again, this is all iteratively done with via prompting. I've given it an expected output, and then also the edit task. And then finally, there's an expected output for that too. So switching back over to the actual output of this, I did a pre-generation of this because this does take a little bit of time to run, and I'll show you exactly the outputs as well. So here is the newsletter template that it's spun out for me, or the first draft of my newsletter. And it's given a weekly AI news roundup with a couple of feature sections, and it's able to capture the links that I had given it. So there was, again, the piece about Intel and then the piece about Grok, which it was able to give a summary and then 3 supporting points. And then for things that I was not able to put in the link for, it went ahead and searched the web for what it thought it was relevant. So this one, Innovation Showcase, something about Google DeepMind's Gemini 2.0 model updates, which came out last week, which is pretty relevant for my audience, which is awesome. This article, I think, came out today. I was checking on it, and it says Baidu to release a next generation AI model this year, and it's from February 12th. So really good job on the part of the agent to find something that was um, pretty relevant. The thing is, I don't know if it's like how to use. I don't know if this is accurate, but at least it was able to find this. And then a couple other points. We have industry intel, and then the other sections of my newsletter that I like to start curating, and then just more points given by the agent, which is pretty cool. And finally, I just want to show off a little bit of how the agent was able to reason in the output. So I've actually just captured the output here um, from the Fast API app. And just to walk through what it's actually doing, it literally has grabbed the prompts that I've given in the agent configuration, the task configuration, and then it's gone ahead and thought about, okay, this is what's relevant for digestible AI. This is the articles that I found. This is the contents of it. This is how I'm able to synthesize, summarize it, and edit it. And then also in the backend, which I forgot to mention, I have an HTML template that I want this to spit out in. So it's actually went ahead, understood the HTML template, and then grabbed whatever it has found from the web, synthesized, and put that into the HTML template as well, which is pretty awesome. And that's how I was able to get the ultimate generation. That's how this spits out. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to show here. Really cool example of how you can streamline content creation, how you can start researching things because people who create content they know that it takes a long time to do it, and Korea implementation was a great first step for this. Again, this is not really something that's being actively developed by me, but for from an iteration standpoint, things I would like to think about is like making this faster. Definitely playing around with some open source models too, and potentially going low code for this too, and seeing how that works. So yeah, and here's just a couple of QR codes if you guys want to check out Digestible AI, and then also my LinkedIn. Feel free to. You're more than welcome to. Cool. That's all I got, Natan. Thanks so much.
Really interesting. I also have a few questions for you, Rayhan.
Yeah.
So for one, I remember when we were talking at the last like Anote Mindstone AI meetup, and you were mentioning like, yeah, if you were to kind of think about building this again, one thing you might look into is like different low-code agent frameworks like Nano AI, right?
Yep.
It's kind of curious your perspective on like low-code agents versus like coding kind of SDK agents like Crew AI and your thoughts there. Yeah.
Yeah. So Crew AI, like doing this way was definitely very good for my learning because I hadn't really built agents before using Crew AI. So from a standpoint of like getting into the code, learning how to configure agents, I think it was very good for learning. But from a more practical perspective, when it comes to building a POC, I mean, for myself, I would probably start with some of these low code things. And if I wanted additional customizability or scalability, then I can translate that to code and whatever that looks like. So my 2 cents is starting there, proving the value, and then going to a broader implementation there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got another question. So obviously you've been creating really awesome like content with digestible AI. I know you were kind of sharing a lot of that in the Anote Slack channel, the early days. And I guess I'm kind of curious, with this newsletter AI agent presentation, what do you think kind of like the future of AI related content might look like? And do you think there's a place for that, or do you think like really the best kind of content will always kind of come from people?
No, I think it speaks to kind of how fast we're moving in the space, right? Like we're seeing more capable models come out every day, and the fact that we're able to go and emulate some people's writing styles pretty easily says a lot, right? So writing, I think, in the age of AI, like is going to be AI dominated, but there will be some level of effort you have to put in to have the voice, right? Because if you write, you want to tell the story, you have to tell it from your perspective. Similarly, I'm seeing something with like video, right? So video, Instagram Reels, things like that that are being AI generated now. I think that's going to be something that is to look out for in the next couple, like 6 months to 12 months too. So I think the future will be AI driven content. It's just a matter of how well you can kind of connect with the audience that you want to build.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I just wanted to kind of personally put in a plug for digestible AI. So, some of the content that Rayhan and his team have kind of been putting out, it like helps me personally stay informed about the different things happening in AI. Like I feel like almost everyone can kind of relate to like, wow, every single week there's a new advancement, and I don't want to fall behind. So for me personally, just going through a digestible AI lets me kind of stay up to date with what's happening. And I think his newsletter is awesome, and I'm excited to hopefully like work together to expand it across America. So